management and how to maximize and to use time. MashaAllah, he already helped and mentioned the importance of it and how time encompasses everything. So there are some things which inshallah I would like to go through with you very briefly and some things in more detail. So inshallah, if you could turn to the screen and have a look at this, what Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah has said regarding time. So just so that you realize the importance of it, Surah Asr is the surah inshallah I'll briefly be going through today. And Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah said regarding this surah, a very short surah, one of the shortest, that if the whole Quran was revealed and only these 3 verses of Surah Al-Asr were revealed, then this one surah alone would be sufficient to take a person to Jannah. It would be enough as guidance. And if a person doesn't want guidance, then even the whole Quran is revealed, he will not be guided. So this one surah, and that is why I will inshallah break it down and go through it one verse by verse, inshallah, one few words by each word, because when you read, sometimes you read it and you've not paused. The companions, radiallahu anhum, they used to pause, they used to stop, and they used to ponder, as Allah mentions Azza wa Jalla in the Holy Quran many times, to ponder. They pondered and thought deeply, then they benefited. So now inshallah, let's see, these are some of the objectives. As time is short, inshallah we will go through inshallah the surah and come straight here. So Allah Azza wa Jalla begins by saying, by time. So what is time? Allah Azza wa Jalla here is swearing that by time, most of you, most mankind don't realize what time is. And you will see this, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is saying, time is nothing other than your life. It's your life. Your wealth increases and increases and increases, but your time decreases and decreases and decreases. And what is good of having so much wealth when there is no time to use it? So time is so precious, but do you value the time? Do you value every breath that is being reduced and reduced and reduced with every moment? Have you got the qadr and the love or the value of this breath that you have? And if you have not, then it means you haven't realized the value of time. Allah Azza wa Jal here, by starting with time, is telling you, value time. Allah only swears by the things which are great things. Allah swears by Himself, the greatest of all. Allah Azza wa Jal swears by the sun and the moon, great things to all of us that see on the earth. Allah swears by many things, the stars and others. But Allah Azza wa Jal here swearing by such a creation which you cannot see, such a creation that you are all subject to. Everything in existence is, almost everything, spirit is free from time, but almost everything is subject to time. Even the Day of Judgment, is due on a certain time. Jannat and Jahannam are due on a certain time. They were created once, people will enter another time. So time. Then what does Allah Azza wa Jal say? Such a great, huge blessing, but surely man is in loss. Mankind is in loss. So what does this loss mean? This is what we need to understand. What does loss mean? Loss means that your time is being wasted and it's not being maximized and you are not benefiting from it. That majority of mankind are not benefiting from the purpose of time, why it's there. But how will you benefit if you don't know how to use the time? And Allah Azza wa Jalla mentions, surely man is in loss, but this is majority of mankind. There are few, and they are few because there is not that many compared to the many. They know how to use time and they would not give themselves a break until they needed the break. Though their mentality is, the life of this world is not for enjoyment, it is not a rest, this is for work. What work? Pleasing Allah Azza wa Jalla and His Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The hereafter is for rest. We'll rest then. We don't want to rest now. They have the right mentality and they don't want to rest now. It doesn't mean they never have sleep or they never have a break. They have a break like you just had. But they are not of the mentality. They have the mentality of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned the hadith. Behave in this world as though you are a stranger. He doesn't relax in his home or he doesn't even see his home as home. People say, oh, I'm in itikaf, I miss home, I miss them, and so on. He doesn't see his home as home because his home was somewhere else. in the world of spirits, and there he will want to return, and his home is with Allah. So you have to realize that what is loss, and Allah Azza wa Jal then explains that who the ones are that have not lost. So if you are the opposite of these verses to come, you are the one in loss. So who are the ones not in loss? Except those who have believed. Why? Because if you have believed, imagine a person who has not believed on this earth, not believed in Allah and His messengers, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophets and messengers, from Hazrat Adam alayhi salam to now. He may have done many, many good things in this life, charity work, helping people, all sorts of good things. But then when the death comes, all this time that he spent would have gone to waste. He would have been rewarded in this world, but there was nothing in the hereafter for him. On the Day of Judgment, a person will be dipped into hellfire. He, in this world, went through all the pleasures of this world. He had money, he had wealth, women, cars, everything, you name it, he had it. No hardship. On the Day of Judgment, he's dipped into hellfire and taken out and asked, did you have any enjoyment in the world? And he will say, no, I never experienced any enjoyment, never. Why? Because he didn't believe. So his all time is in loss. Then a person on the Day of Judgment will be who went through so much hardship in this world, so much hardship. He was poor, nothing to eat, no one to help him. Just surviving was hard enough. Then on the Day of Judgment, he will be dipped in paradise and taken out and asked, did you go through any hardship in the world? And he will say, no, I never experienced any hardship. I can't remember anything. So this person, his time is all beneficial. All his time, except the time he was forgetful of Allah and not in Allah's presence. Other than that time, all his time becomes valuable because now he has forever and ever peace. He never has to worry about time again. So that's the belief and the importance of belief. Look at how belief is affecting time. And you heard what the Shaykh said regarding belief and the DNA. And then who's the second person? Done righteous deeds. The one who's done righteous deeds. And you may think doing righteous deeds is only praying salah, praying salat al-tasbih and doing hajj and umrah. Let me tell you, the person who goes to hajj and umrah and ittikaf and Ramzan and fast and does all these things, then he looks at someone's car and says and thinks and believes, I wish I had that car and I wish he didn't have this car. And he has jealousy in his heart like shaitan. All his Ramadan and fasting and Hajj and Umrah have all gone, not in the bin. They have gone into hellfire and built a palace of hell for him. That's where they've gone. Not in the bin. They've gone to Jahannam and built a palace of Jahannam for him. And punishments upon punishments for him. So jealousy, the Prophet ﷺ said to the news meaning, jealousy burns good deeds like fire burns wood. So this means that your good deeds, they don't turn into nothing, not ashes. They turn into bad deeds. Because is ashes nothing? Ashes, nobody would like ashes on them. Jealousy turns good deeds into bad deeds. Like tawbah turns bad deeds into good deeds. So what is then the best good deeds that a person can do? The best righteous deeds? If you want to know the best righteous deeds you can do and the best usage of your time, it is in your own purification. There is no better investment than investing in yourself. And what to invest in yourself? What's the best thing to invest in? Is it to learn time management? Is it to learn how to recite the Quran beautifully? Is it to learn how to organize? Is it to learn all these different things? Is it to learn how to memorize? No, the best of all of them, these are all good, but the best of all of them is to learn your own tazkiyah. And I'm not referring to theory, I'm referring to practical. That is the best usage of time, because then you do Hajj and Umrah, spend 4 weeks in Hajj, spend 4 weeks in Ramadan, spend all this time, and none of it will go to waste. All of it will be preserved. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentions about them in the Holy Quran that we will never let the deeds of the believers go to waste. So become a believer. To become a believer, you need to use time to the maximum. You need to not waste time. Because Allah says about Himself that the son of Adam, he wastes time, belittles time, he abuses time in Hadith Qudsi. The son of Adam abuses time, though I am time. Allah Azza wa Jalla is not time. One of the meanings of it is that He has shown how important time is, that Allah has associated time to Himself. That this is how important it is. It's not a part of Allah, but it is so important that it is your only way of reaching Allah. This is it. So this is what good deeds is. Your own tazkiyah. To abstain from a sin is also a good deed. Never forget, the best deeds are not spending time in ibadat and so on. The best deeds, first deeds that you should do, are abstaining from sins. So looking down, instead of looking at na-mahram, this is a good deed. Looking, stopping listening to music, pressing stop, that's a good deed. Someone's backbiting, and you tell them, brother, don't backbite, or you walk away. This is a good deed. And these deeds are more better and higher than even doing all-night nawafil. Why? Because this is what brings you close to Allah and His Messenger. And the all-night nawafil and ibadat won't bring you close to Allah if these things are not there. If they are, then it's very good, it will. Once the person's done this, they've done their tazkiyah. So the righteous deeds is abstaining from sins, and then doing their own purification and enlightenment. Good deeds refers to both. You remove the filth and you replace it with the good. Then what do? Then the best usage of time for you now is you advise each other to truth. You go and convey the message. This is the next step. If you don't convey the message, as I mentioned before, your knowledge will stay still and it will become dirty, and you will not benefit from your knowledge, no matter how much knowledge you've gained. You will harm and be harmed by your knowledge. So you need to flow and pass the message on and convey the message. So they advise each other of the truth. And they advise each other of patience. And what does this refer to? So the truth refers to conveying the message. They convey the truth of Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the akhirah. This is the truthful message. And they're not shy to mention the truth. But then they advise each other of patience. And again, what is Allah mentioning here? He's mentioning tazkiyah. Because what is patience? Where does patience come from? There are aspects of patience with the body, there are aspects of patience in the mind, and there are also in the heart. But real patience comes from within. So what does patience mean? It means when you have the ability to do something bad, but you stop. That's what it literally means. You can do it, but you stop it. You have the ability to look at this na-mahram, but you stop. So you are patient with the eyes. You have the ability to listen to music, but you stop. This is patience with the ears. And in the heart, you have the ability to feel a grudge towards this person, feel a hate towards this person, but you subdue it and you tighten the nafs and you stop it. Then this is patience with the heart. And with the mind, you can think bad of a Muslim. The mind is free to think bad of whatever it wants. No one can see your mind. But you stop the bad thought and you replace it with a good, that think good of him before you think bad. So then you've done patience with the mind. So again, Allah is mentioning that once you've done the tazkiyah and you've conveyed the message, you come back to tazkiyah, you maintain it. This is what it means. You maintain your tazkiyah, you never let it go. Because why? Just like your cloth, this white chadar, can become clean, it can become unclean. So what did the Holy Prophet ﷺ and the other prophets and messengers do? They in the daytime went to convey the message, and in the nighttime they spent with Allah Azza wa Jal to remove any dirt and filth that may have come from the people, from the darkness of the people. They went to remove and purify that. So you purify yourself, then you convey the message, and then you re-purify again because of the harms that can come by conveying the message, interacting with the creation. So do you see, now if we read this verse, this surah like this, by time, surely man is in loss, except those who have believed and done righteous deeds, and advise each other of truth, and advise each other of patience. Then you may think, okay, there's not much mentioned in there, but when you delve and into the depth of each verse and ponder upon it, there is oceans and oceans beyond there, and there are more and more as well. So this surah alone tells you the importance of time. So now, inshallah, to understand the importance of time from Hazrat Sayyidina Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi, inshallah, one of his wonderful teachings on time, this is coming. But before mentioning this, there are 5 things which the Holy Prophet ﷺ mentioned regarding time as well. And they are that 5 that you should take advantage before they are taken away from you. The benefit from 5 before you lose them. What are they? Very quickly. Take advantage of 5 matters before 5 other matters, before the opposite appears. The first one, take advantage of your youth before you become old. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prefers the worship of a youthful person 70 times more it's mentioned or so than the elderly person. Why? Because the youth, what age is it up to? They say it's up to the age of 33. So if you're 33 or below, you're still youth. So why? Because the young person has the ability to go to the clubs and pubs and women and all sorts of different things he can do. The elderly person, even though he wants to, he can't. So take advantage of your youth before you become old. Your health before you fall sick. And why many times people say, oh, I'm ill, I don't want to be ill, I have this disease and that disease. Your disease is a reminder from Allah that turn back to me. And your disease can be the means of your closeness to Allah. Maybe what you get from your disease you didn't get in your health because you never realized in your health. But those of you who have health and you realize, I have health, I can get close to Allah, nothing's stopping me. What should you be doing? What should you be doing? It goes back to Surah Asr. The person should spend their time in their tazkiyah, in their purification, in their mujahada against the nafs. That's what the person should be doing. Because when you're ill, mujahada, striving is hard. But the person is not deprived, they can still. It's possible, it's always possible. But if a person doesn't take advantage of their health, there are many things they cannot do. Many things they cannot do, and you can ponder upon them. Your richness before you become poor. If you are rich and you have wealth, and wealth isn't just about money, wealth is many other things as well. Knowledge, wisdom. Maybe you have knowledge and one day you may have an accident and you no longer have this knowledge. Maybe you have speech and one day you have accident, you can't speak anymore. Maybe one day you had the ability to just walk. This is a richness, to walk. And now the richness of walking has been taken away. You're in wheelchairs. Maybe it was that you had the richness of heart, but you never shared it, you never conveyed the message. So shaitan deceived you and you became arrogant. So there are many richness, and use them wisely before you become poor. Every one of them is a lesson in themselves. Your free time before you become busy. And this is the one which inshallah we'll be talking of today. Maximize your free time. Don't see free time as free time. There should always be the believer knows in every second, not every minute, in every second he knows what Allah demands from him in that second. In that moment he knows, and he does that. Whether it be speaking, smiling at someone, whether it be speaking, whether it be quiet, whether it be salah, his focus is always on one thing, and he focuses on this one thing. And what is that one focus? The one thing which Allah wants from him at that time. And then he's attaining closeness to Allah from every single second. So this is a skill to learn. This is not something learned overnight. This is a skill to practice. Your life before your death. Your death will surely come. Take advantage of your life now before it is too late. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullah's teachings, and this also has wonders upon wonders and jewels of knowledge within here as well. Those 5 teachings you saw, they were many, many, many lessons in each sentence, each words. So Imam Ghazali, his teaching regarding time, and now you can see the mindset of the awliya, that this is how they think regarding time. So what does he say? You should not neglect time or use it haphazardly. Haphazardly means just willy-nilly, like anything, like it's nothing. You should not use time like it's something that you have unlimited amount of and you can just waste it. On the contrary, opposite, you should bring yourself to account, structure your litanies and other practices. So what does structure your account mean? Or bring yourself to account? This means the things that you've done right and the things that you've done wrong, you note them down. You make a mental note of them or on paper, as you do in the course of self-purification. What have I done right? What have I done wrong? Where's my mistakes? What are my solutions? How do I improve? And then make those improvements. Like I said to you before, write down the actions and practice them every day. Practice them. So hold yourself to account. Structure your litanies and other practices. Your litanies are all your daily activities that you must do. Everyone has these activities that we have to do. And yet sometimes people are always saying, oh, I have so much, I don't have any time. The time you have, another person has the same time. Why is it that one person can become the Ghawth of the time, Qutb of the time, the great awliya of the time, Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmallah of the time, Sayyidina Abdul Aziz Dabar rahmallah of the time, and he only lived 37 years or so? Why can some people become like this in short time? They never said, I didn't have time. They had less time than you. So they maximized their time and they understood how to use it. So they structure your practices and use them properly. During each day and night, and assign to each period during the day and night a fixed and specific function. So this is what I was saying before, that every moment of your day and night should have an objective. This minute now you should have an objective, and that was the adab that you were hearing before. Those are the things that you should be doing now. I have certain adab I should be following. You have adab you should be following. When you're socializing, there are different adab to follow. When you're with your wife, there's different adab to follow. When you're with your children, there's different. Those, every time you're different situation, there's something to do. And they should be planned in advance. So we'll come to that. This is how to bring about the spiritual blessings in each period. So when a person knows what to do in every situation and he plans it in advance, then he benefits from that period. It could be work. From work, if you do go to work with the right reason and intention, your whole work becomes ibadat. Some of you say that, oh, I was working all Ramzan, I didn't get to do much ibadat. So I tell them that if you have the right intention, then your work is ibadat. Why are you depressed? Allah Azza wa Jalla is so merciful, your work becomes worship. You should be happy. You should be thinking, Allah says in the Hadith Qudsi, this is a life-changing Hadith Qudsi, and it applies to time. I behave with my servant as he thinks of me. So if you think of Allah, Allah says, I behave with my servant as he thinks of me. If you behave with Allah that, oh Allah, I worked all Ramzan, I didn't get to do much ibadat, then there won't be much good deeds in your book of deeds. But if you say to Allah, oh Allah, I didn't get to do much nafal ibadat, but I worked in Ramadan and I pray and I ask you that you accept my work and I did it for you. Nothing is worthy of acceptance before you, and nothing can be close to what you deserve. Nothing, and I'm not even trying my best. This belief, this short belief that I've just mentioned, all your work becomes ibadat. Imagine, how many hours are you spending working? So they change their intention and they humble themselves before Allah. All their work is ibadat and their business is ibadat. But if you leave yourself adrift here and there, aimlessly wandering as cattle do, not knowing how to occupy yourself at every moment, your time will be lost. So if you don't know what to do in this moment, then your time will definitely be lost. When people make timetables, and the first time they make timetables with like this, when they make the timetable, they always say, I don't know what to put there, I don't know what to put there, I don't know what to put in this slot. But then I always say to them, this shows you that you have extra time, but because you don't know what to put there, this means that you have that time, but it's being wasted. You have this time. Those of you say, I don't have time for my amal, it's 1 hour, 1 hour in 24 hours, I don't have time. You have to make time, because you have time in the day, but you have to remove something to replace it with something. So decide which is more priority. Which is my priority? Allah's closeness, or making an extra few pounds, or extra few time with the missus? Sometimes less time with the family is better, not more, because separation creates love. So prioritize. This is something we'll come to, inshallah. Then he, rahimahullah, mentions time is nothing other than your life, and your life is your capital. Capital means your property, what you own, that you make use of to reach the perpetual felicity, means your closeness, absolute closeness that otherwise couldn't have been reached in the proximity of Allah the Exalted. So what does this mean in simple form? Your time is the only thing that you can use in this world to get close to Allah. Soon as death comes, time is over. Hereafter comes, Day of Judgment comes. They will all believe. Everyone that enters Jahannam will believe. Everybody will be a believer. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmallah mentioned this. His students asked, Ya Sayyidi, what does this mean? Everyone that is a believer will enter Jahannam. And he rahmallah said to them, on the day of judgment, everybody will see Jannat and everyone will see Jahannam. They will see the angels and they will see the Prophets ﷺ. They will all believe in them then. But then it will be too late. Why? Because the time expired. This is the time. Like when you're in an exam, the 1 hour in the exam is the only time you can change the test paper, the questions. Soon as this, and the invigilator, the examiner, they don't interfere. They let you write. Even if you scribble, they let you write it. After the hour is up, then they mark it. And it's too late to change it, even if you knew all the answers now, even if you become expert. Each of your breaths is a priceless jewel, since each of them is irreplaceable and once gone, can never be retrieved. So imagine your breath is a countdown. That's why with the breath, you should be remembering Allah with every breath. The heartbeat is beating. Tell yourself, am I telling my heart to beat, or is someone else telling it to beat? Am I telling my lungs to expand and inhale and exhale, or is someone else telling them? Well, the one who is constantly keeping me alive, does he not deserve to be constantly remembered? He's constantly causing your heart to beat, and we can't remember him. So he definitely deserves at least remembrance and at least obedience, bare minimum. So what happens when you can't breathe? Less than 3 minutes, a person will die. They will suffocate. And Allah Azza wa Jal has given oxygen in abundance. Those things which are in abundance, don't think that they are valueless, that they are not precious. If you had all the wealth in the world and you had no oxygen, you'd give all your wealth for a few breaths of oxygen. All of it instantly, you wouldn't think. So these things, they come with deep thinking. They don't come by listening now. They come by after you finish, you go and you ponder upon them, you think about them, you digest them. That's when the understanding hits you. And the last few things, do not be like the deceived fools who are joyous because each day their wealth increases while their life shortens. There are many people in the world, I have this income, this business, there's nothing wrong with doing business. Ask the people of Allah Azza wa Jal, sometimes they will tell you that they do more businesses than other normal people. They do more. Not all of them, some of them. But the difference is they don't do business for business, they do it for Allah Azza wa Jal. So they don't become happy at my wealth increasing, they become happy at being able to have freedom to choose to do what they want when they want. And what do they want to do? They just want to spend time with Allah Azza wa Jal. The most precious thing that you can do, spend time with Allah or for Allah, one or the other. With Allah, for Allah. If it's with Allah, you're in His direct ibadat and worship. If it's for Allah, you're guiding others and helping others, conveying the message. What good is an increase in wealth when life grows shorter? Therefore, be joyous only in increase of knowledge and good works. And remember, good works, what does it refer to? Your tazkiyah. The best thing which you could have done was your own purification, because that would preserve all the good deeds that you do thereafter. For they are your companions who will accompany you in the grave when your family, wealth, children and friends stay behind. So your tazkiyah and your purification will stay with you forever. It will stay with you forever in the hereafter. It will stay with you in the grave. The angels, Munkar and Nakir, will come. And the Prophet ﷺ will say to those angels, for some people, "Oh angels, don't ask them who I am. Ask me who they are." They were the people who maximized their time to get close to me and to Allah Azza wa Jal. These are those people. So imagine your purification helped you in the grave. Imagine the day of judgment, your purification that day, you will be shining under the shade of Allah's arsh, and those who cried out to the love of Allah, they will be with Allah above the arsh. And they will be then helping others on the day of judgment, helping others and taking them to Jannat. What a valuable usage of time on the day of judgment. They're even maximizing their time then. You heard yesterday or the day before, the angels will say to them, "Come to paradise," and they will say, "No, we didn't worship Allah for paradise." And they will be helping others, because the Prophet ﷺ will be on the day of judgment on the Maidan Hashr, helping others. They will be following his sunnah then as well. They will say, "He ﷺ is not going, we will not go. We will stay with him and help others like he is." They'll follow his sunnah even then. And what a valuable usage of time. And then in the Jannat, what a valuable usage of time. They will be the ones witnessing Allah's glory forever and ever and ever and ever. Because in this world, what did they do? Every moment they spent with Allah and every moment they spent for Allah. So there they will spend every moment with Allah again. It will be no different. It will be just much higher, much greater, because they will see Allah. And those people who didn't, they will be indulged in paradise and Jannat and palaces and hurs and so on. That's good, that's fine. It's better than going to Jahannam, because about Jahannam Allah Azza wa Jal says, they are neither living nor are they dead. So when they're not living, how can they use the benefit of time? And when they're not dead, they're in limbo land, but rather worse, because it's never-ending punishment. So if a person wastes time, then this is all that they have to look forward to. On the Day of Judgment, it will be said to them that, how long did you spend in the world? The angels will ask. And they will say, just a part of a day, maybe not even part of a day, an hour or less. And they will say, no, you spent even less than that. Even less than that. So think to yourself, is it worth going to Jannat or Jahannam for one moment's obedience or one moment's disobedience? One moment's obedience and Jannat forever. How, win-win situation. Win-win situation. Or one moment's disobedience and forever Jahannam. You will on the Day of Judgment be saying this, I lived in this world one moment. Not today you don't feel it. The Day of Judgment you will. And then you'll be saying, for one moment I'm going Jahannam forever and ever and ever. So rather spend this one moment in the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. And now inshallah I'm going to briefly come to practical steps on how to manage time. Now you know the importance of time. And just briefly, time management is such a thing which takes trial and error. Trial and error. Everyone has different ways of doing it. And you have to find what works for you. So I'm going to show you some different methods, inshallah. So let's look at this one case study. So you have a case study in front of you. This is step 1 and step 2, inshallah. Step 3 and step 4 will come. So there's only 4 steps a person really needs to know to begin his journey of managing the rest of his life. So let's look at this one person. A lot of people are like this, not all. He starts work at 9 a.m., takes him 30 minutes to travel to work. He always finishes work at 4:30 p.m., so he knows I always finish at the same time. He always goes to the mosque at this time of year. Fajr is at 7 a.m., 6 p.m. Maghrib, 8 p.m. Isha, and the other Zuhr Asr prays at work. Takes 10 minutes to travel. He wants to recite his morning and evening azkars like we do. Very good usage of time. All those protections that you get from shayateen and evil forces. So he needs to do 30 minutes personal amal. Maybe it's longer, maybe shorter. He needs to spend some time with family. Of course, everyone has rights. You have to assign a time for the wife, or the wife of the husband, or the children, or your parents. Everyone, you need to give them their due. And if you don't, like the Shaykh was saying before, your parents are displeased with you, how will you become the Sufi and the close to Allah? Sufi means the one on the first row. Those on the first row, it comes from the word saf. But it doesn't mean the one on the first row of the prayer. It means the one of the first row in the presence of Allah. How do you become in the close presence of Allah in the first row? By managing time so you fulfill everyone's rights. Everyone's rights. And it can be done. Then you need personal free time. This is not free time to just do anything. It's free time to give the body rest. And they want to exercise as well. Exercise is very important. So people should exercise, and they have to have sufficient sleep. You don't have to have 4 hours, 3 hours. 7 hours is sufficient. So step 1. Step 1 in managing your time and making a timetable is this. Start by including those activities which you cannot change. They are fixed. Even if you didn't have a timetable, they are there. For example, your time to set off to work, your time that you return home. This person always finishes work at 4:30, takes half an hour, always gets home around 5 o'clock. So you know my time for home, 5 o'clock. My time for setting off, 8:30, whichever. He starts at 9. But is this a good idea? We'll come to leeway time. Is it, if it takes you 30 minutes to get somewhere, you set off 8:30, you get there 9 o'clock. But you're meant to be there 9 o'clock. Is this a good idea? No, this is not a good idea. This is positive thinking in the wrong way. That he thinks that there will be no traffic, there will be no accidents, there will be no problems. The person should always give themselves leeway time. And leeway time means extra time to accommodate for things beyond your control. Then you will, inshallah, never be late. So we'll come back to that, inshallah. So here's an example. This person, case study 1, he wants to pray Fajr prayer in the mosque, Maghrib and Isha, and he prays the others at work. The first thing you've done, not by starting from the morning, going right to the night, first thing he started with is the things that he cannot change. Because even if he didn't have timetable, these things would be done. So these things would be done. And you can find out how long does it take for me to pray Maghrib, go to the mosque, come back, pray my azkars. Average, it take maybe an hour. Then you've read all of them. Isha, walking to the mosque, driving, whichever, this includes wuzu. You don't need to put things like wuzu on there. Then you're spending time making a timetable, but wasting time. So timetable should be simple. They shouldn't be complicated. Like your phones, they are complicated to make, but they are simple to use. That is the wisdom. Like the path to Allah, it is complicated to make, but it is simple to use. You try to make the path to Allah on your own, without ever knowing any of the mashayikh, you will never be able to do it. But those mashayikh, they've put it all together in a simple form. It becomes easy for the normal person. So step 2. The step 2 is include the activities that you want to fix, the ones that you want to fix, but you have some choice over. For example, waking up time, sleeping time. So here, if you stay up till 2 o'clock in the night, is this good usage of time? No. Here you're wasting time because your time is going into your sleep time. Goes into your sleep time, you can't wake up for Fajr. Can't wake up for Fajr, late for work now as well. Employers displeased with you, angry with you, disciplinaries, whichever person has. So they sleep on time, they wake up on time. And in there, even the person includes time for going to the bathroom. And like I said before, a person, the son of time, is the person, the mashayikh say, become the son of time. The son of time is the person who knows what to do in every moment. When he's in the bathroom, he knows what to do. The sunnats of the bathroom, the adab of the bathroom, how to have a shower, how to do everything in the bathroom. He knows, and he doesn't even forget Allah in the bathroom, Azza wa Jal. Then he knows what to do when he's walking to the mosque, when he's coming back from the mosque. He knows what to do in the prayer. Then they know what to do when they're in gatherings. They know what to do when they're at work. There are techniques for every situation, and those techniques should be learned. Then you become the son of time. So here the second thing is the things you can fix. So here now you have to do some mujahada, some striving. Your nafs is like this little child. You have to take the nafs where you want to take it. The nafs is saying, no, stay up, watch this movie, talk with the wife for so long and long and long. Don't get much sleep. Let's carry on talking and eating more and enjoying this free time we have. But your time for sleep is being reduced and the fajr is being affected. So the person needs to say, now the time, oh honey, our time for socializing, let's set a time. Work with your wife, work with your family. Set a time for each other. So maybe, for example, 9:30 to 11 o'clock, not including the prayers. This is your time for you and your wife. Quality time, you don't focus on anything else, just you and your wife, but keep the remembrance of Allah with you all the time. Maybe you watch something, maybe you talk about something, maybe you read something together, maybe you ask each other how your day was. This quality time, little bit, that every day, little bit, develops the relationship more and more and more and more. And if you ask the brother will do on the last day, the relationship between husband and wife, one of them is the people of 50 years research have said, the good relationship of husband and wife, those people say, those who have very good relationship, that we are like best friends. We have a best friend relationship. We can tell each other almost everything. So if you tell each other everything, you need to have time to tell each other everything. But if you say, oh, I'm still working now, and she says, oh, I've got this thing to do and that thing to do, and you have no time for each other, and then suddenly one day will come where you don't do anything for me, you don't have this time for me, we don't go anywhere, we don't do anything. That time was the time to talk of these things, to spend time together. So like, let's say 9:30 to 11, and before going to sleep. So, and then before that, you can do whatever you want. So to make a timetable for oneself when they're married, then, or they have family, then sometimes they need to work with the family to say, this time, inshallah, I will give to all of you, and the other time other things that I have to attend, others I have to attend to. So the 11 o'clock here is the sleeping time. Before that, you can do other things. So you have to be strict on yourself. If you cannot be strict on yourself, as the Shaykh was saying before, you have to be strict on yourself. You can't do this, then the person is not a believer. You have to be disciplined. The number one quality that employers all over the world wanted in a person in their CV, they wanted to see. Do you know what the number one quality is? So if you have making CV, you should put this in there, if it's true. Self-discipline. Self-discipline. So what is self-discipline? Self-discipline is you can do what needs to be done even though you don't feel like doing it. Even though you don't feel like doing it. Who is it that doesn't feel like doing it? It's not you, it's the nafs, the evil self inside. And you need to realize this. So, but that's a different topic. What is step 3 then? Step 3, now you've done the things that were already fixed, you don't need a timetable for. Now you've fixed the things that you could change, some mujahadah, some striving. What is the third thing? Third thing is this. In the remaining time that you have left, include the things that you have to do every day. For example, you have no choice over these, you have to do them. Eating, bathroom, salah, all these other things. I put this for sisters because they can pray at home, so they have freedom. For them, salah ends here in step 3, but for brothers, that should be going to the mosque. For them, it's in step 2. It's fixed for you. Allah Azza wa Jalla is teaching you timetable as He changes the time of the prayer throughout the year. Allah is teaching you timetable. So let's see an example. This you'll understand when you see it, but it says, assign, for example, 40 minutes to 1 hour for making food, eating, cleaning up, and the bathroom, generally in the morning and after work. So what does this mean? This means that, for example, look at where it says break. Here, a person has woken up for Fajr, they've prayed their azkars, now they have 45 minutes before they have to set off to work. You don't need to write, I have to eat, I have to go to bathroom, I have to do this, this, this. You're going to do them anyway. But the person needs to know how long it takes to do all of them. Some people every day, they wake up 15 minutes later than they should, and they're always 15 minutes late to work or wherever they're going. If you knew one day, use your stopwatch, from the moment you wake up, time yourself to the moment you get out of the door. One day, just do this. The moment you wake up from bed to the moment you leave the house, you're ready fully 100%. You've made breakfast, whichever, you've been to the bathroom and so on. Then you will know how long it takes you to get ready. Then you will know when to wake up. Then you will know. Otherwise, if you never do this, you will never know really how long it takes. You will always think for 10 years, you'll think it takes me 40 minutes, but it always took you 50, and this is why you were always late. Maybe you lost your job because of this. So simple solutions, look how simple they are, yet so effective. So inshallah. And then after work, first thing a person does after work, they normally give themselves a rest. Give the body a break. The body needs a break. Spend some little bit of time with the family, eat together, eat with them. Again, quality time with the family is important. Eat with them, ask them how their day was, they ask you how your day was, and so on. Refresh yourself. Then it's here in this time of year, with December time, whichever, it's now time for prayer. So the person goes to the mosque, they pray, they do their azkars. Maybe they recite them as they walk and they're doing 2 things at once. Now what is step 4? So step 3, your breaks need to be included and assigned. The things you have to do every day, even if you don't have a timetable, you have to do them. But time it and see how long it takes you. Then the last thing is, the time remaining is the time you have to live. That time remaining is the gaps. In the gaps is the time that you have to live. This is the time to live. But the real truth is that the bathroom was living as well. The working was living as well. The family time and the break time was working as well. And the sleep was living as well. All of these things were living if you know how. If you know how to turn your sleep into worship, and your socializing to worship, and your break into worship, and your bathroom into worship, all of them become living. Well, if you don't know how, then they're just as they are. Nothing more, nothing less. So that means that this is the time that you can choose to do what you want. You don't have to do it, but you want to do it. You don't have to, but you want to do it. So for example, it might be watching a program, it might be socializing with family friends, surfing the internet. Never a good thing to do, but many people do this. They're on Facebook, whichever. So if you're reading beneficial stuff, good and well, but like I said, there should always be assigned time for something. And if your time for reading is going on Facebook and reading beneficial stuff, then that's good and well, but have an assigned time, not before going to sleep. Before going to sleep in the bed, this is not the best time. This is the worst time. Scientists will tell you it's not good for your eyes, it stops you sleeping. Then you end up saying, why don't I get good sleep? Well, it's because you're looking at a bright screen before sleeping. So, and here is the complete timetable, a complete one. And you all have these timetables so that step 1 and step 2 are complete. Now you can complete your own timetables. This is just an example of a person. Look at someone, tell me what is the remaining thing in his free time or her free time. This is a brother that goes to the mosque. So what were the things that he wants to do when living? If you look at the screen, what is it that's in there? That is his living time. So step 1, 2, and 3 have already been done. The remaining time he could choose to do what he wants. He has choice over. What are they? So let's say this is a teacher. Yes, brother. Okay, exercise. He's got exercise. And this is a teacher. He has to do some work at home. Many people do some work at home. Okay, anything else? Yes. Excellent. Personal amal and his family time. And you can see the way around it is. Many of you say sometimes, I don't have time for my amal, or I leave it till the end before going to sleep and I'm tired, I can't do it properly. You should give it priority. Do it first, do it early rather than later. The earlier you do it, then it's done and dusted, and you don't have to worry, I've not done my personal amal, it's done now, off your shoulders, you are free. Then you can go and spend the rest of the time with others, fulfilling their rights. If there's urgency, then the nafil amal should be stopped and you should go and fulfill the right, if there is. But here, don't think that only 25 minutes for family time. As I mentioned, the breaks you eat with the family, the mosque, you might take your children with you. Okay, so all these things, and in them, you may exercise with the wife as well. Both of you do exercise together, this becomes family time. Many of us need it these days, husband and wife. So do some exercise, do some stretching. People complain of back problems. Show your spouse some good stretches, yoga positions and different things. This becomes a bonding for both of you. You don't have to exercise on your own. And it's more interesting to exercise together. And here where it says work at the bottom, this is very important. I'll mention this now. This is about slots. Many of us, we have time slots to do something in. For example, I wake up, let's say, 8 a.m. and Zuhr is at 2 p.m. So between this time, let's say Zuhr is at 1, from 8:40 to 12:40, a student wakes up and it's time for him to study. He has 4-hour slot. How does he use this 4-hour slot? There are different methodologies, but I'm going to just mention one very beneficial one. Everyone has countdown timers on their phones these days. A person can put a countdown timer for example, 2 hours, 40 minutes, and how much break does he have? 1 hour, 20 minutes. So, but when do you take the break? So you have a 4-hour slot. It doesn't mean you work for 4 hours. Many students, their GCSEs and A-levels degree, they say, oh, I was revising all day. But when they add up the time, really, it was nowhere near all day. Nowhere near, not even 6 hours. And those who manage time, they can do 6 hours revision in a day. They can go to all the prayers, they can do their personal amal, they can spend time with family, all of them, and they can have time for themselves. Imagine in one day. 6 hours revision and all those other things as well. That's possible. It's just the maximum usage of time and discipline. So let's say there's a 4-hour slot. Put your timer on for 2/3 is what I've found to be, and you might be different, 2/3 is what I've found to be the ideal time of working, and 1/3 the ideal amount of time for break. So if you had 3-hour slot, you would put 2 hours on your timer for work, 1 hour for break. So, and when do you take the break? You don't take it every half an hour or so, you take it when you need it. Your brain and your body will tell you, I need a break now. So you pause the timer, 1 hour, 15 minutes left, go have a break, forget about work, whatever you were doing, forget about that completely. If you don't forget about it, it's not a break. If it's still on your mind has not rested. Your body's rested, your mind has not rested. In the break, you are to forget about the work that you were doing. So you go and spend time with your mother, with the wife, with the children, eat with them, go to the bathroom, then whichever. And your break is anything other than the work. Then when you feel I've had enough break now, you come back, restart the timer, 1 hour, 15 minutes left, until you've done 2 hours. And this works for sisters who have young children. They may say that, how do we manage time with young children and young babies? Let's say you have a 3-hour slot. You know that your child's routine. Your child has a routine, 24 hours, it stays similar. And you help them get into this routine. So then the child is sleeping 3 hours now, and you're fully fresh, for example. So you know that in this 3 hours, the child might wake up once, and randomly he'll wake up or she'll wake up, feed him, nappy change, and put them back to sleep, and so on. But in this 3-hour slot, my target is to do 1 hour, 30 minutes. Because with the baby, you can't do as much work or whichever it is. This is especially for sisters who are teaching and any type of work at home. It could be housework as well. So then your 1 hour, 30 minutes, you're on your timer. This amount of time I want to do household duties or deen work or whichever. The other 1 hour, 30 is for my baby. So you've split the time. The time doesn't have to be rigid like this timetable you see. The time becomes split between the need of the child and when the child is not in need, then you give it to the other thing. So this is another methodology in those big slots that you have. Some last important points I want to mention and then finish. I've mentioned these ones. 1/3 is ideal, not half. 4-hour slot, you don't do 2-hour break and 2-hour work. So 2/3 is best. Use stopwatch. Now, the mental effect, what is this? Mental effect, there is such a thing that when you then press start on the stopwatch or countdown, your brain turns onto work mode. You will only know what I'm talking about when you practice it. You press start, your brain is on work mode now. You're working. As soon as you feel the need for break, you pause it, and then then your brain goes on break mode. You program your brain to work on work mode and to go on break mode. And if you don't do this, those people who do not do this don't know how to refocus, change their focus. They will bring all the stresses of their life in one go upon them, and all the stresses they will feel in one go, and that will lead to depression. Whereas, ask the people who are not depressed, they are so happy that you couldn't understand or experience their happiness. And if the kings and queens knew how happy they were, they would give all their kingdoms for their happiness. They would give it but they've not experienced this happiness. They will say to you, we only focus on one thing at a time, one thing. Never 2 or 3, only ever one. And the second thing what we are always ever focusing on is the remembrance of Allah. So I only ever focus on one. If I'm with my wife, full focus is on her, and the remembrance of Allah is in the back. If I'm with you, full focus is on you. Everyone, wife, children don't exist now. Even outside, Bolton doesn't exist now. If I'm with the teacher exists and no one else in the world exists. If I'm with the scholars, then these scholars exist and no one else exists. If I'm with the children, they exist and no one else exists. Your focus is on one person, one thing, and no one else except Allah. Allah should never, Azza wa Jal, be forgotten, and the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So give leeway time, extra time to each activity. They should be not reduced but expanded. If it took you 40 minutes to go to the mosque and back, give that 50 minutes. You will feel better that I have extra time. That's a good feeling, a positive feeling. I have extra time. But when you put 30 minutes and it really takes you 40 to do something, then you feel, I don't have enough time, I'm behind. Then you become agitated. Then you say to people, I've not got any time for you, I have to go. Things like this, and that becomes bad character then. Then bad character begins to show. But when you have extra time, you're happy to give that few minutes to different people. So give leeway. Flexibility, very, very important. Timetable should never be rigid and unrealistic. The flexible timetables are the most realistic timetables. So make them flexible, make them unrealistic timetables put you off. If a person says, I've tried timetabling and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean the timetabling doesn't work. It means you haven't understood how to do it. You haven't made flexible timetables. You made rigid timetables. A timetable is not strict that you should follow every word for word, time for time. It's a guide. It's only a guide. And you follow it. But it's coming soon. I'll mention the principle, inshallah. I've mentioned this one. So time yourself from waking up to going, find out how long it takes you. When it says try to do two things at once, we are people, inshallah, trying to travel the path to Allah, Azza wa Jal. So for those people traveling the path to Allah, they should always be in the remembrance of Allah, Azza wa Jal. Like you mentioned, Hazrat Sahib mentioned yesterday, heedlessness is the first step towards Jahannam. So what does this mean, doing two things at once? I just mentioned a short while ago, one focus on one person, and then Allah's focus should be there in the background all the time. So what does doing two things at once mean? Doing two things at once means that both of them, or at least one of them, don't require your mind to function. It doesn't require you to think. So you're walking somewhere. Do you need to think when you're walking somewhere? Do you need to think when you're on the bus? If you have driven this journey a million times, do you need to think? Really, for those driving, they should not be doing something else at the same time. They should only just be focusing on the driving. But let's say you're on the bus, on the train, or let's say you're walking somewhere. So traveling does not require you to think of anything else or do anything else. This time is ideal time to do something else at the same time. For example, memorizing, if you're a student, memorizing your equations, definitions. If you're being alim, alima, memorizing your things. If you're doing the path to Allah, going through the things that you should be practicing on a daily basis, assessing yourself, am I doing this, am I not? That's the perfect time to be thinking deeply. It's not the time to be listening to music and naats and nasheeds and your mind is here and there, nowhere. You remember every moment of your life, there should be an objective. So when you're traveling, even traveling should have an objective. What am I doing in this time? So when you're eating, you don't need to think to eat. It's not very difficult. You've been doing it since you were a baby. So when you're eating, you can be doing something else. It could be just socializing with someone. That's why I said, when you're eating, eat with someone. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam sunnah, he never ate alone. He always brought a guest to eat with him. So always eat with somebody. So this is sunnah. And if there's no one to eat with, then remain in the remembrance of Allah and munajat with the heart. So then there's other things as well, which bathroom, you don't need to think to go to the bathroom. So what else should you be doing in the bathroom? I'll give you one thought as an example. When the person's in the bathroom, then you can see that you can get closeness to Allah through such a thing like this. Never mind the other things. When the person is in the bathroom, they should be thinking, Allah Azza wa Jal has created me like this, so that why has He not created me like an animal or an insect that doesn't need to go to the toilet at all? There are some animals, they don't need to answer the call of nature, it just automatically it goes into the air, and like fish, for example. They don't need to answer the call of nature, they don't need to assign a time or do this, and they don't need to do it regularly. But Allah has created human beings, the best of all creation, and you need to go to the toilet 6-7 times a day. 6 is healthy for urine. So this is a good sign. This is a good sign if you go 6 times a day. So what should you be doing and what should you be thinking? So when they are answering the call of nature, they think and they ponder that I am filthy and I am lowly, and this is the filth and the dirt that I hold inside me. Allah created me with a dirty drop, and I will die. When I die, I will be bones and I will be rotting. And this is the reality of human being. These are the things that they think about. These are the types of thoughts that they would be pondering upon. That's why Allah created you, so that you answer the call of nature frequently, so that you become humble, not so that you become arrogant, so that you become humble. And then one person said, he said to his waist, he looked at it, he was a person of kashf, he could see things. He looked at it and he said, "Ooh, how disgusting," and the smell. And the waste spoke to him, because everything, Allah says in the Holy Quran, everything in the heavens and the earth worships and glorifies your Lord. So even your food worships Allah, even the waste worships Allah. So the waste spoke back to him and said to him, you are saying to me? You are the one should be saying ew to yourself. Why? Because when I came inside you, I was fruit bearing, I was wonderful, I smelled nice, I had nice scent. When I came inside you, I became filthy and dirty. You turned me into this. So then the person was astonished that this is the lesson he learned from his waist. And you go every day, and this humbleness a person is learning from going to the bathroom. That is one example of how to benefit from every moment and every time. So inshallah, the last thing I want to mention is the positive thinking, because mindset is utmost important. And then these 4 points I will finish, and you can have a go at practicing your own timetable with the 4 steps, inshallah. And I'll leave them on the screen so people can go forward and back from them so they can see them. 4 points regarding the thoughts. Never, ever, ever think timetables don't work because I can't keep to them, so there's no point doing it. You will keep getting better if you keep up with it. Like the course, the tongue sheet, you might think, I can never stop the sins of the tongue. I can never stop this sin, smoking, alcohol, drugs, women, whichever it is. I love this girl so much and I can never release this love. You can. You need to tell yourself you can. And if you tell yourself you can't, you will never be able to do it. Your first obstacle is telling yourself that you can't do it. The moment you tell yourself, I can do it with Allah's help, that's the first solution. So tell yourself, I can manage time. With Allah's help, I will. And never give up. It is meant to be a guide. It is not set in stone as an absolute must. It is subject to change, and it helps you to adjust. It helps you with the changes. It's not meant to be followed perfectly. It's meant to be guiding you. Why? Because of the next one. This is a life-changing principle if you follow it. What is this? It says, you plan. This is mentioned in a way without mentioning it to Muslims, but the real one is, you plan. When Allah's plan comes, you replan. So for non-Muslims, you can say to them, when anything happens beyond your control, you replan. But really, whose plan is it that came upon you? Allah's plan. So let me give you an example. You're driving to work and the weather suddenly is hailstoning and there's a big traffic accident. Whose plan is it now? You intended to come on time, but now there's an accident, there's bad weather and so on. So Allah's plan has been executed on you. What do you do now? Do you worry? No. All you do is you replan. Inform them, tell them things have beyond my control, and then replan. Use that time beneficially. Another one might be, you intended to meet somebody at a certain time. You both plan to meet them, one of them's running late. Now Allah's plan is for the other person to be late, and that for you to be waiting. Allah's plan is that for you. You now replan. So this time you're waiting, use it beneficially. Remembrance of Allah, learn something, read something, give someone a message, reply to some messages. Use it beneficially, don't waste it. Then you've replanned, and now you carry on. And this person does this again and again and again. Maybe in one day they do it 50 times. They replan. They're replanning all the time, planning ahead. And if a person practices that, it changes their life drastically. And the last thing is that it is important that each activity is done for the amount of time that you've set for them, not that they get done in order. They don't always have to be done in that order. They just need to be done for that amount of time. Like your personal amal, you want to do 1 hour. Manage your time, you can do this, and so on. So, inshallah, last thing to say on time management is that it doesn't come by listening once. It comes by trial and error, practicing again and again and again. And you have to find the method that works for you. And if you do, inshallah, then you will become these people that Allah Azza wa Jal says. So look at these people. You will be the opposite of these people. By time, surely man is in loss. You will not be the one in loss. You will be the one who's believed. You'll be the one who's done righteous deeds. You'll be advising, conveying the message of others of truth, and you'll be again doing your re-tazkiyah to make sure you are not affected by conveying the message. So become one of those sons of time, benefit from every moment in your time, and make a start today. Because like Imam Ghazali mentions, every breath is a priceless jewel, once gone, can never be retrieved. So inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to understand and value time and benefit from time so that we can benefit in this world and in hereafter. Jazakallah. If there's any question and answers now, inshallah, anyone can ask. And inshallah, I'll try my best to answer. Now's the time for question and answers. Yes, brother. You can say a question, I can hear you. Yes, mashallah, a good question. So the brother is asking a question that do we have one timetable set or do we have different timetables? And the answer is it depends on your life. If your Monday to Friday is exactly the same, pretty much always the same, you can have one weekday timetable. And if your weekend timetable is different, so your weekends are the same, you can have one weekend timetable. And for some people, their Friday, Saturdays is the same, so they have a timetable for them days and they have a timetable for the other days. You can have a timetable for your day off, and you can have a timetable for your day at work. And for those people whose day changes all the time, there are other methodologies that they can follow as well, inshallah. So one thing is also, during this entire itikaf, as I've mentioned, if anyone wants to speak regarding the path of ascension or anything else, then inshallah they can see myself. Then after Asr, normally most days, inshallah, I'll be in this main hall and people can ask and anything they want. And regarding time as well, inshallah, you can ask. I do itikaf so that I can help the brothers here. So, and inshallah, there's also the write-up, transcript of every day, every majlis that Hazrat Sahib does, and the Sheikh today did as well. So this can be sent to you. It's easier these days, we all have WhatsApp. So we can WhatsApp it to everyone. It's quicker than taking an email address and sending this email address. Just send a WhatsApp. So if you want, I can take your number afterwards and send that to you as well. So inshallah, every day you have this opportunity as well. Inshallah. So is there any other questions? Yes, Uncle.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just want to say, really, I've heard this before, but today maybe my focus is different. I benefited a lot today, and I'd like to thank you for presenting. And I think it's a very, very good tool. Jazakallah for presenting and being available.
Jazakallah. See, then, now I mentioned to you that every moment the person knows what they should do. And I always like to tell people, now, this moment, what should a person do? So what does a person do when someone praises them? What does a person do then? Then now Allah has a command for me at this very moment, and Allah has a command for you right this very moment as well. So what is the command in this very second now? So the second now, when someone praises you, is that you attribute all the goodness and the praise to Allah Azza wa Jal. You direct it. You don't direct it to yourself, you redirect it to Allah Azza wa Jal. You attribute the goodness to Allah, that Allah Azza wa Jal gave me the ability to do this and to speak to you and whichever. Allah is the real doer, we are not the doers. So you redirect the praise to Allah, then this becomes shukr, it becomes gratefulness. But when you attribute to yourself, when someone praises you, then this was mentioned in the Prophet ﷺ's time. One Sahaba praised another Sahaba in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ, and he ﷺ said to this Sahaba that praised the other, you have slit his throat. You have slit his throat. So then he became fearful, my throat's been slit. So the Prophet ﷺ protected him so his nafs doesn't become inflamed and think, oh, look at me, look at me. So rather he put the nafs down. So when a person praises you, one thing which you can do is throw dust in their face and tell them, please don't praise me. Or another is just thank Allah Azza wa Jal and direct it to Allah Azza wa Jal. And for those listening, then they should also be thanking Allah for the benefit and the blessing as well, and asking Allah to help us act upon this. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Do you still personally write it down, or do you just do it mentally?
So, inshallah, when a person becomes experienced, then, or very experienced, and their timetables are very different. You have to find what works for you. So alhamdulillah, I've been making these timetables, the ones that you've seen here, for more than 10 years. So more than 10 years. And with them, I was able to do all those things that were mentioned. But then something more advanced came along, something more better came along, and there was Google Calendar. And so for a time, I used Google Calendar. My whole 24 hours was fixed. And I no longer, the first thing I would do when I was studying and I had 4 weeks off, first thing would do on the Friday, plan the entire 4 weeks with a timetable for the week ahead. Every Friday, this was a routine, make the week timetable for the week ahead. And this should be your case. Your time is not unlimited, it's limited. Therefore, it needs to be valued and as accounted for more than money, more than wealth, time does. So plan for the whole week ahead. So now, alhamdulillah, I don't use these anymore only because I use something else, and there was Google Calendar. This was very beneficial because it saved more time in making timetable, because you put one thing in and it do it all for the future. You have it on your phone as well as your laptop. It's synchronized. Very beneficial. And I learned this from a business professional, 2 of them in fact. They used this for their 24 hours a day, and they were very professional. So then after this, alhamdulillah, I no longer needed this, because now my work-life balance is completely under my control, and I don't have to have any boss to go to, or completely free. So when you have like this, you have freedom like this, then it's even more important that you have time management, even more important. So for a person who's like this, they have complete freedom over their 24 hours and their work and so on. They can do something different. So what I do now is, on Excel sheet, I have 6 categories. 6 categories. One is personal, one is deen related, one is business related, one is teaching related, one is other things as well. So they're all color coded. And then there's days going all the way down. And for every day, in order of priority, things are put onto each day. Different things are put onto each day. So the entire month can be planned in advance like this, and it saves time. You sit there once and you think all the things that need to be done, brainstorm them all, write them all down. Write them all down. And then you have them all here in a list, and then you have to put them into each day. What needs to be done each day, like Imam Ghazali rahmatullah said, every morning and every evening needs to be accounted for, assigned something to do. So this is what you're doing, assigning something to do. Let me show you, inshallah. So, let me see here 1 second. And you will see that in there will not be many, because now we are on itikaf. So here it is. So this is completely true and real as it is now. So here you can see that here there is 1, and there is many for that, a big list of things to do for this one. Then there are personal things. Then there are another business-related thing. Then there is another business-related thing. Then there is Islamic things, some of them. Then there is teaching things and private tuition-related things. And there's nothing to be done for them, because alhamdulillah, they're all done. But these other ones are there. And what does a person do? They have... So prepared time management resources was done a few days ago, whenever. And you can see even this one. Ask a certain brother to do something for me. I made intention of itikaf when I come, that this one particular thing I can do in itikaf, then it's allowed to be done in itikaf. But look at all these other days. Now, there is nothing in there, because why? All the way up to the end of itikaf. Because I've assigned myself to your service throughout the whole 10 days of itikaf. So whatever you need, that is what I will be doing. My priority now is your priority. So whatever you need, therefore there's no list of things to do. On my list, nothing for me to do except whatever is needed here. So But when there isn't itikaf, when there isn't, all these things from other things, whatever they might be, it could be even your amal, it could be, if I saved the previous one, I could have shown you an example, then they become the things that a person does. And you focus. Why is that so important? It's so important because this day, today, let's say I had 3 things. Go somewhere with the missus, then maybe go to a family's house and visit them for an hour and a half, and then after that maybe do my personal amal, and there's nothing else. So those 3 things would be written. Now the mind would then not focus on anything else. Whatever tomorrow is coming tomorrow, you don't think about tomorrow. You focus on today. When you're with the first thing, which is the wife, focus on the wife. When you're then with the family, focus on them. When you're doing the personal amal, then you focus on that. You forget everything else. So you focus on one thing at a time, but you plan them all. You plan when they're being done, and what's being done as well. So for people who have flexibility like this and they have lots of things to do, they have to prioritize and they have to put things on different days based on how much time they have on those days. And then they will get things done like this. Otherwise, those little errands like fixing the bed and fixing this garden and door and all sorts of things, they'll never get done. They'll never get done until you put them on your list of things to do. List of things to do, how that works is another lesson, inshallah. So that's for another time. But I don't need, alhamdulillah, use those timetables anymore. But that's only because of training again and again and again and again. Eventually you become programmed. You can't waste time. Well, you become so programmed that it's impossible for you to waste time. You could never sit there and do nothing. You'd always be doing something. And when the person is programmed, like Hazrat Sahib mentioned the other day, there is a state of ghafla, absence from Allah, and there is a state of remembrance of Allah. You are programmed to be heedless of Allah because we've been born like this. The world is a distraction. You have to reprogram yourself to remember Allah constantly. When you reprogram, then it becomes, now you're reprogrammed. Now you can't remember. Now you can't forget Allah, Azza wa Jal. One great wali said that just as hard as it is for some people to pray, it is that hard for us not to pray. And just as hard as it is for some people to remember Allah, it is that hard for us to forget Allah. This is because of reprogramming. So the mind, how the mind works and how the time works are very linked, but there's not time right now to go into this in much detail. So inshallah, is there any other questions?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, bro. How are you? All right? Basically, when I've actually heard take advantage of the youth, take advantage of youth, which is beautiful, and I was told, I got this figure in my head, it says, no, 33. 33 is under 33 year youth. Now, the question is asked, inshallah, is what age should a person start practicing Islam? What youth? What age? Thank you.
What age should the person start practicing Islam? This person should start practicing, really, the truth of the matter is the parents should teach the children from the earliest that the child can begin to even understand. And many people make this mistake and they think that, oh, it's just a child, he doesn't understand, she doesn't understand. The child, if scientists will tell you that the child in the earlier stages learns more faster rate than they will the rest of their life. And what do they learn the most? They learn feelings. They learn feelings from you. So then the midwives, they will tell the parents, new parents, that the child, if you're angry, the child will feel the anger and he will be upset. If you're happy, the child will feel the happiness. Like the Shaykh was saying, your feelings are transferred in the book, the water book, the lessons learned from water. You give bad feelings, the person receives those bad feelings. You give good vibe, the person receives that good vibe. Those of you that do Path of Ascension Amal, this is all similar thing, energy and so on. So, therefore, you should be teaching the child from the young age. But the person needs to understand what to teach them. So, for example, children from young age, some of them, they don't like to share. They don't like to share. They like to have things on their own. They have a sort of jealousy that I don't want him or her to have it, I want it, I want it. So they have greed. you should see straight away, this my child has greed in him or her. You should be worried. And greed is an evil disease. But then you're thinking, oh, but the child is masoom, he's sinless, and if he dies like this, he'll be forgiven. But if he grows like this, what will he become? If he grows like this. So what do you teach him? In the third stage of the course, Tariq Muhammadiyya is taught that to get rid of every evil disease, you need to develop the good, opposite good quality. So if you want to get rid of jealousy, what's the opposite good quality of jealousy? Can anyone think? What's opposite of jealousy? Okay, generosity, good, mashallah. Any others? Yes, brother? Okay, be grateful, mashallah. Any others? Kindness, pure. Pray for the other person. Okay, mashallah, good. So some of these are qualities, some of them are not as such qualities. Yes, brother? Humbleness, okay. So to mention a few, the opposite of arrogance is humbleness. Humbleness and arrogance are opposite. The opposite of patience is impatience. The opposite of gratefulness is ungratefulness. The opposite of sincerity is ostentation, showing off, and hypocrisy. And the opposite of jealousy is loving for your brother what you love for yourself. And where does this quality come from? It has to come from sharing. So if you teach your child to share, and the beauty of sharing and the rewards of sharing, he's only 1 year old, 6 months old, and you teach them these qualities from such young age until when they can understand, then they develop and they grow into purified people already. They grow into purified people. They don't need to do tazkiyah. They've already done it because you've grown them in that way. So you grow them in such a way. That's why zakat means grow, and purification means to grow. So where do you grow from? You grow from birth. Purification, tazkiyah, also means to grow. So it comes from birth. So you teach them from birth. And the other things you teach them, so you teach them to remove the evil diseases. How? You don't tell them get rid of jealousy. You teach them the opposite quality, loving for your brother what you love for yourself. You don't teach them to get rid of impatience. You teach them to be patient. You don't teach them to be hateful. You teach them to remove hate. You teach them to love. Yeah, and you don't teach them to remove ungratefulness. You teach them to be grateful. This is how the third stage works, and that's what the third diagram shows as well. It's like light. There is darkness in this room. How do you remove the darkness? You don't go to each corner and brush it away. You turn light on. So when light comes, darkness goes. So when the good qualities come, the bad ones is removed automatically. But how will a person teach these to their children when they haven't learned it themselves? How can you teach your children to grow into purified people when you haven't purified yourself? So that's why we have to purify ourselves first, and they will learn from us. The first language the child speaks is the language of the actions of the mother and father, what they do. So love each other, be kind to each other, they will do the same. So other than that, the child should be taught to pray before he's baligh or she's baligh. So from 10 years old, it's recommended that they should be praying. And forced to pray does not mean that they are hit. They should never be hit. No child should be hit. The maximum hitting is with a miswak to do this. That's the maximum. And then there are those of us slapping and so on. And in mosques they are doing this. What kind of Islam are they teaching their children? So the force just means that you can take something away from them. For example, dessert or computer games. Give them reward when they have done something good. If you make reward a normal thing, they will never value reward. They'll never value these things. But when you make them value it, you give them rarely, then they appreciate that. They learn, what do they learn? Appreciation. Allah is the most appreciative, and that quality Allah wants in us, appreciative. But how will they learn it? When they receive something and they become grateful for it because it's rare. Then they learn appreciation. So you teach them to pray earlier than 10. Get them to pray with you, but they should be praying from about 10 years old, because the baligh age around 12 happens for both boys and girls. Sometimes girls earlier, and that's when it becomes farz on them. So, is that? You're welcome. Before is better, but 10 they should be forced to pray. But forced, remember, does not mean physically. It means they deprive them of extra blessings for not doing it, and but give them the bare necessity. You need to give them food. You don't punish them by or giving them food and things like this. You tell them off, you can show displeasure, you can show anger, you can scare them, but you should not hit them. So, mashallah. Any other questions? Yes, did you have your hand? So if anybody is, inshallah, tired or needs to rest now, they can. If anyone wants to ask more questions, they can. And inshallah,